Welcome, I'm David, and this is Crime Line. Tonight, we delve into a case that unravels the idyllic facade of a wealthy New England suburb to expose a story of passion, secrets, and shocking violence. In Dover, Massachusetts, a picturesque town known for its affluence and tranquility, a 45-year-old mother, a free spirit known for her calming presence, vanished. The alarm was first sounded not by a silent home, but by a bizarre and disturbing text message, purportedly from her celebrated surgeon husband. A message that painted her as a vindictive devil. As friends and family grew frantic, a grim investigation began, leading detectives from a luxurious mansion to a desolate pond, uncovering a chaotic history and a tragic end. This is the story of Katie McLean and the downfall of rder, Ingolf Harry Turk. On the morning of May 15, 2020, a sense of unease rippled through Katie McLean's close-knit circle of friends. Katie, a 45-year-old mother of three, known for her belief in the healing power of love, had gone missing. The day was just beginning, around 8 a.m. on a Friday, when Vanessa Pettigrew, one of Katie's closest friends, received an ominous text message. It hadn't been sent to her directly, but rather forwarded by another friend, a man named Kurt. Kurt had received the original, deeply disturbing message from Katie's estranged husband, Dr. Ingolf Turk, known to friends as Harry. Katie and Harry, after a period of separation, had only days earlier embarked on a fragile reconciliation. The text message from Harry to Kurt was alarming. "Kurt, I'm sorry, brother, but she is a vindictive devil. She played us all. I'm really sorry, brother, but she manipulated us all. Love you, Harry." Kurt, baffled and worried, had immediately tried to ascertain what had happened, messaging Harry back. "What happened?" But Harry offered no response. Kurt then tried calling Katie's cell phone, but it went unanswered. And as precious time ticked by without a word from either Katie or Harry, Kurt's concern intensified. He and Vanessa had, weeks earlier, established a code word with Katie: popcorn, a discreet signal she was to use if she ever found herself in danger and needed their help. After forwarding Harry's chilling text, Kurt messaged Vanessa, "We might have a popcorn situation." Both now shared the sickening fear that Katie was in grave danger. Unable to reach Katie on her phone, Vanessa took immediate action. She first drove to the long-stay hotel residence where Harry had been living while he and Katie were working through their marital difficulties. In the parking lot, she spotted the Mercedes that Harry usually drove. Katie's Jeep was also parked nearby. Despite repeated calls up to Harry's room, there was no response. A knot of dread tightening within her, Vanessa then drove to the substantial home Katie and Harry had shared at 29 Valley Road in Dover, a sprawling $2 million mansion in one of Massachusetts' most affluent towns. Prior to their separation, the couple had lived there with Katie's 3 children from a previous relationship. That morning, Vanessa knocked on the door of the Valley Road home, peering through windows, searching for any sign of her friend. At a side door, she spotted 13-year-old Sam, one of Katie's sons, and managed to get his attention. All 3 of Katie's teenage children, Sam, Grace, and Sophie, were safe inside the house. Their mother, however, was not. With the children safely removed from the home, police officers began to scan the exterior of the large property. There was no immediate sign of Katie or Harry. However, once inside the house, small but chillingly telling clues began to emerge, painting a grim picture of a violent altercation. Stepping through the garage and into a downstairs hallway, officers noticed a faint, disturbing pattern on the floor, 2 tiny dark spots, spaced just a few inches apart, followed by another pair of similar dark stains a couple of feet further along. This subtle trail was visible just inside the doorway and led through the kitchen, where countertops displayed dirty martini glasses and half-empty bottles of liquor. remnants of a night that had clearly gone terribly wrong. From the kitchen, the faint stains led towards the stairs. Following this pattern to the second floor and down another hallway, officers noted that the door and door frame to the master bedroom at the end of the hall bore significant damage. The door jamb had been splintered. The lock was ruined. The door had clearly been forced open with considerable violence. Inside the bedroom, the trail of tiny spots led to the end of the bed. Shards of glass were scattered at its base. 2 broken drinking glasses, one on a chest of drawers and a second that had rolled under a nightstand, appeared to be the source of these shattered pieces. The bedding, a comforter and sheets, lay in a heap on the floor next to the bed itself. The mattress was stained with what forensic tests would later confirm to be Katie McLean's blood. On the nightstand, amidst the chaos, lay a large bag, Katie's purse. An officer called her cell phone, and they listened as the purse began to vibrate. They found her iPhone inside. Its home screen was illuminated with a barrage of notifications, all the missed calls and urgent messages that had been pouring in from her many concerned family members and friends. A silent testament to the growing panic outside the walls of this violated sanctuary. Katie McLean, at 45 years old, was not just a dedicated mother of 3. She was also a healer. Through her business, Birch Tree Energy and Healing, she offered her services as a Reiki master. Reiki, a Japanese energy healing technique, involves gentle hand placements intended to channel universal life energy, known as ki, to promote relaxation, ease stress and pain, and support emotional and spiritual well-being. It is a practice embraced by many for its calming and therapeutic effects, often used as a complementary therapy to conventional medicine. Katie also advertised her abilities as a psychic medium, a true free spirit. She was known to her wide circle of friends as a woman of immense grace, someone who consistently sought to support and care for others. It is perhaps not surprising then that roughly a year after her second divorce, Katie fell for another individual perceived as a healer. Indeed, a celebrated surgeon whose days were spent saving lives, Dr. Ingolf Turk, 58 years old and known to friends as Harry. He was born in Gotha, Thuringia, then part of East Germany. He had spent the first 30 years of his life there, emigrating to the United States not long after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Harry possessed an impressive background. He was a former athlete in the demanding sport of decathlon and had even attended the 1980 Moscow Olympics as an alternate on the East German team. Later, he had served in the German Air Force and attended medical school. In Massachusetts, Dr. Turk had been actively recruited by the prestigious St. Elizabeth's Medical Center in Boston, a well-regarded teaching hospital known for its cardiac care and other specialties, for his progressive, life-saving expertise in robotic surgery. He rose to become the chief of urology at the medical center. His professional reputation was such that the hospital featured his face on a billboard campaign across the state. And in 2012, he was highlighted in a promotional video where he was described as not your typical surgeon, praised for his athletic physique and his pioneering skill in robotic surgery, a field he passionately believed led to better outcomes for his patients. On May 15, 2020, with his wife Katie officially considered a missing and endangered person, police located Dr. Turk. He was found unconscious in his hotel room. He was immediately rushed to the hospital. Harry's blood alcohol level was so extraordinarily high, even when tested hours after he had evidently passed out, that a note was made on his medical record suggesting he might have attempted to purposefully poison himself with alcohol. He was also covered in a multitude of scratches. What was particularly striking to law enforcement was the number and nature of these minor injuries. The surgeon had cuts, some more severe than others, distributed over areas all over his body. He had small marks on his hands, notably above his thumb and index finger, scratches on his arms, his calves, and his thighs. The marks on his hands and arms were highly typical of defense wounds, sustained while warding off an attack. There were also 2 small abrasions on his hairline. While none of these injuries were in themselves life-threatening, their collective presence pointed to a deeply disturbing conclusion that Harry and his missing wife, Katie, had been involved in a violent physical altercation. While Harry recuperated under medical care and police guard, investigators obtained a search warrant for both of his vehicles, the Mercedes he usually drove and Katie's Jeep, which he had been using. The search and subsequent forensic tests on the Mercedes did not return anything of significant evidentiary value. The Jeep, however, had a grim story to tell. A stain on the steering wheel was a definitive match to Katie's blood. Similarly, forensic testing of swabs taken from the external and internal door handles on the driver's side, passenger side, and even the trunk all returned results linked to Katie's DNA. A half-empty bottle of scotch was found discarded on the passenger seat. When this bottle was moved, a small knife was visible behind it. While the knife itself did not yield Katie's DNA, it was nonetheless obvious from the other forensic evidence that Katie had been in the Jeep after sustaining injuries, likely those that occurred in the master bedroom of their home. Hotel records and surveillance indicated her husband, Harry, had been absent from his hotel for most of the preceding night, returning at roughly 5:38 p.m. He had been driving Katie's Jeep. It was the following day, a full 30 hours after Harry had been taken to the hospital for treatment, when detectives were finally able to conduct a formal interview. The surgeon initially told them that he had little to no recollection of the previous day's events. "Yesterday, I don't really recall much of anything," he claimed. "I must have drunk a lot. I can't tell you. I'm sorry, but I can't remember." When asked when he last saw Katie, he mumbled, "Katie and I. That's what I remember. We've been watching TV and, we've been drinking alcohol. I don't even know what happened after that." Detectives prompted Harry with the facts they had already painstakingly deduced from the crime scene at 29 Valley Road. There must have been an argument, they suggested, and it must have turned violent and physical. "Tell me about the argument you guys had Thursday night," a detective pressed. Harry feigned ignorance. "The what?" "I don't know what argument." The significant issue with Harry's assertion of having no memory due to extreme intoxication was that surveillance footage from his hotel showed no signs of such incapacitation when he returned in the early hours of Friday morning. He was captured on camera pulling out his wallet for a key card to access the building and entering without so much as a stumble, parking the Jeep perfectly between the lines. "How can you not remember driving that Jeep back to the hotel?" Detectives challenged him. The interview lasted roughly 3 hours. Eventually, Harry requested a break. When he returned after 45 minutes, his story began to change. He started to recount a version of what had transpired at 29 Valley Road 2 days earlier. He said he and Katie had played a game with the children. Later that evening, after consuming several martinis, they had gone to the bedroom. Their recent reconciliation, he implied, had been bumpy. According to Dr. Turk, his wife had significant jealousy issues. He claimed she routinely checked his phone and read his messages, frequently accusing him of cheating. And so it was. He alleged, on that fateful night, Harry was texting with an old friend, a female friend. "Then she looked at my phone," Harry stated, "and saw text messages from an old friend that she always despised. She wanted to see what we talked about during our separation time. I said, please don't look at the messages because they are not true for today. But she wanted to see what has been said. Then she got angry again because she saw some stuff that she didn't like." In this version of events, Harry painted his Reiki master wife, a woman known for her gentle and healing presence, as violent and aggressive. He claimed that Katie threw a glass at him, striking him on the right side of his head. He asserted that he then reached out instinctively to defend himself. When pressed for what happened next, a critical question remained unanswered. Where was Katie Harry's chilling reply? "She's in the water." He specified it was a pond, close to their house, and admitted, "I may have put a rock on top of her. I'm not sure." Following Harry's confession, law enforcement descended on a rural property on Francis Street, just a 2-minute drive from the Valley Road house. It was a property set back from the road, surrounded by woodland, a place Harry and Katie had once considered purchasing as their new family home. A small pond was positioned to the left of the long driveway. As search teams combed the area, they discovered a small black tank top caught on the branch of a nearby tree. The woodland floor was covered in thorns, the likely cause of the many lighter scratches observed on Harry's body. When Katie McLean's body was pulled from the cold, murky water, they found her topless. 2 large rocks, each weighing an estimated 16 pounds, had been stuffed into the pockets of her trousers, a deliberate act to ensure her body would sink to the bottom and remain concealed. The medical examiner subsequently found her cause of death to be strangulation. The manner of death: homicide. Katie and her 3 children had moved into the house at 29 Valley Road in March 2018, a few months after she met Harry on the popular dating app Bumble. Their relationship had evidently moved quickly. Roughly 2 years later, in early 2020, they eloped, marrying at a drive-through chapel in Las Vegas while Harry was there for a medical conference, a style of wedding known for its speed and often impulsive nature. From that point, accounts of their marital bliss, or lack thereof, diverged sharply. In Harry's version, Katie had acquired the marriage license in advance, and the plan to marry in Vegas had taken him by surprise, just 5 weeks after this whirlwind wedding. Harry sought an annulment. He claimed that Katie discovered an email from his lawyer about dissolving the marriage, and it was this discovery that motivated her to take out a restraining order against him, making up claims about his aggressions to police to secure the protective order. He alleged that only after he placed her name on the deed to the $2 million house and signed a post-nuptial agreement, a contract made after marriage to define assets in case of divorce, did she agree to attempt a reconciliation and allow him back into the home. Conversely, those close to Katie asserted that she was the one seeking a divorce from a controlling and abusive husband. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Turk had been facing serious professional turmoil. He was embroiled in a malpractice suit, which alleged he had improperly charged Medicare more than $31,000 over a 6-year period for services he did not perform, a serious offense with potential criminal penalties, significant fines, and loss of license. Initially, he allegedly hid this lawsuit from Katie. Just before the couple eloped, Harry settled that lawsuit, agreeing to pay a $150,000 fine. He was subsequently fired from his prestigious job at St. Elizabeth's Medical Center. Friends contended that he did not take this dramatic fall from grace with dignity, instead taking out his frustrations and anger on Katie. As his alleged abuse escalated, Katie was forced to go to the police. She arrived at the Dover police station disheveled, the screen of her iPhone shattered, crying. 2 starkly different versions of events were reported to police that day. Katie told officers at the front desk that Harry had been violent and she was filing for divorce. She didn't want to press charges at that moment. She just wanted them to be aware in case something happened to her. While she was still at the station, Harry himself arrived, claiming he was worried his wife was going to make false accusations against him. He insisted Katie was the jealous and controlling one, that he had never been violent, and that he was planning to leave her and return to Germany. If only he had. Before he could make such a move, the COVID-19 pandemic hit in early 2020, bringing with it widespread lockdowns and travel restrictions, particularly impacting Massachusetts in May 2020. He had to stay in the United States, and Katie's restraining order forced him from their home. Ultimately, in early May 2020, just before her death, the couple agreed to attempt a reconciliation. But regardless of whose version of events one believed, the deep-seated issues in their tumultuous relationship had already been firmly, perhaps irrevocably, embedded. The reconciliation, it seemed, was tragically not destined to be successful. Dr. Ingolf Turk, the Harley-Davidson-loving, former Olympic decathlon alternate turned celebrated surgeon, was arrested and charged with the first-degree murder of his wife, Katie McLean. As his trial commenced, the jury was also given the option of convicting him on the lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter, should they find that he acted not with premeditated malice, but in a sudden heat of passion or due to adequate provocation, a distinction critical under Massachusetts law. Harry's defense team, however, was aiming for a third option, an outright acquittal, claiming self-defense. Defense attorney Kevin Reddington argued that his client, Dr. Turk, acted in self-defense after his wife, Katie, attacked him with a cocktail glass and, crucially, was attempting to force him out of the house again. The defense painted a picture of Harry fearing for his life, not just from Katie's alleged aggression, but also from the raging COVID-19 pandemic, should he be rendered homeless during a public health crisis. The couple's deeply dysfunctional marriage and their financial entanglements formed the core of both the defense and prosecution's arguments. For the defense, Katie was portrayed as manipulative, driven by greed, pursuing other men while trying to secure Harry's assets. For the Commonwealth, Harry's motive was characterized as a toxic brew of anger and resentment at his wife for having the power to eject him from the house he had purchased, especially during the height of the pandemic when he felt most vulnerable. He had, at one point, been living out of a friend's camper in Florida after exhausting other options, and that camper was eventually sold, leaving him desperate. He claimed he was pressured into adding Katie's name to the deed and signing the post-nuptial agreement simply to be allowed back into his home. Friends of Katie, however, testified that Harry had offered to add her name to the deed as a gesture of his commitment to their reconciliation, a supposed fresh start that tragically never materialized. The infamous text message, "I am sorry, brother, but she is a vindictive devil. She manipulated us all. Love you, Harry," loomed large, with the prosecution arguing it was evidence of Harry's anger and disdain for Katie, proof of his motive to kill. Vanessa Pettigrew testified that Katie was not motivated by greed, but still loved her husband and genuinely wanted the marriage to work, though she was deeply concerned about his behavior and its impact on her children's stability. The cross-examinations were tense, particularly that of Kurt Pfannenstiel, the neighbor who received the text and who, it was implied, may have had a closer relationship with Katie than initially revealed, and who had deleted most of his correspondence with both Harry and Katie before handing his phone to police. Harry Turk took the stand to tell his version of events, beginning with a dismissive description of their Las Vegas drive-thru wedding, likening it to picking up burgers for dinner. He recounted his fears about COVID and his desperation for housing. He detailed the argument, claiming Katie attacked him with the glass, that he snapped, grabbed her by the neck with one hand, a claim questioned by the medical examiner given the nature of strangulation injuries, and had no intention of killing her. He even added a new detail not mentioned in his initial confession, that he had tried CPR on Katie before disposing of her body. Prosecutors relentlessly questioned his assertion that the former Olympian and board-certified surgeon, even if intoxicated, would not realize that strangling someone would result in death. Defense attorney Reddington closed by asserting the entire case was about money, Katie's alleged greed for the house and financial security. The Commonwealth countered that the greed was Harry's, his motive to murder fueled by rage over losing control of his house and finances. After 5 hours of deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict. As it was read, the once celebrated Dr. Ingolf Turk wept. He was found guilty, not of first-degree murder, but of the lesser-included offense of voluntary manslaughter. This verdict meant he avoided an automatic sentence of life imprisonment without parole, which a first-degree murder conviction would have carried in Massachusetts. His sentencing hearing was scheduled for May 16, 2025, almost exactly 5 years after he took the life of his wife, Katie McLean. Her loved ones remembered Katie for her radiant energy and light, her bright blue eyes, fiery red hair, an ever-present smile. It is this vibrant image they choose to hold on to, a stark contrast to the darkness that consumed her final hours. Thank you for joining me on Crime Line. This case serves as a grim reminder that behind even the most polished exteriors, turmoil and violence can fester, with devastating consequences. We'll see you next time.